Step into the world of the Superpro podcast, where we lay out the blueprints of home service excellence. Join us as we break down the wins and struggles of pros who are at the top of their game. Put their wisdom into practice as you build your company's success.
All right, we are live. Welcome to the Superpro podcast, the heartbeat of home service excellence. I am Roland Ligtenberg, your host, co-founder of Housecall Pro, and I'm an advocate for all the hardworking pros out there who are making our homes better, safer, and more comfortable. Through Housecall Pro, I've had the privilege of supporting hundreds of thousands of pros just like you, empowering them to achieve more, stress less, and redefine success in our industry. Today, we've got a very special guest. We're diving into the essentials yet often overlooked world of dryer vent maintenance with a very special guest, Kyle Newby. He's the driving force behind Dryer Vent Guys. They're based in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And really, he's got 15 more employees, nine work trucks out on the road, box trucks. You guys have a big goal this year. We can talk about that. But welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's awesome.
That's cool. So the Dryer Vent Guys, what's the story behind the name of your company and when did you start it?
I was told it to be like ducks in a row, like getting your ducks in a row. People throw out all these different things, but mostly people are like, you're crazy for starting a dryer vent company. In 2013, I just recently graduated Bible college actually and was doing 3 jobs, chimney sweep, and a couple Bible school associate pastor type stuff. And with the chimney company, we did dryer vents as well. To be honest, we weren't very good at it, and we didn't really know what we were doing at dryer vents specifically. And I just kept thinking, man, what if I just learned how to do this really well? And what if I gave the area a company that really actually knew what they were doing?
And so then you're like, oh, how did you teach yourself? Like, where did it start? Because you had to be the first one that was like, all right, well, we'll start with one. Like, walk me through that process of starting the business.
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's more resources today. There's still not like many resources. I mean, it's still a niche dryer vent industry. That said, it's a very much emerging industry. Mm-hmm. And there are more resources now than there were. At that time, I immediately got the one nationally recognized certification in the dryer vent industry, certified dryer exhaust technician. And that helped me a little bit, but then it was a lot of research, fake it till you make it a little bit, and then just researching like crazy. No one was going to teach me how to do it. I just had to do it.
Are you researching? Are you going on like Facebook? Are you like looking online at YouTube videos? Like, what are you doing to like teach yourself?
Maybe you see a random This Old House video. Maybe you're reading all the manufacturer directions on install directions. You're looking at like, oh, well, this is what code says about it. And oh, wait, there's a difference in code. What's international code versus Virginia residential code? Like what? Okay, what's Virginia building code versus residential code? Like, just there's a lot to learn, and a lot of negative things to learn from. Okay, I don't want to do this. Like that's the wrong thing. But then you can start picking up what's right, and then some of it you figure out by experience as well by doing it.
That's cool. So now that you've learned all this stuff, you have a huge crew now. You're shooting for like 3 million this year. Like
20 of us. Yeah, 20 of us now. Yeah, we hired a couple of apprentices. Yeah.
20 of you guys. So 20 of you. So so now you got to train them, all this knowledge, all this research you were doing. Now you got to like get everyone on board as you're growing. Like, how did you do your first hire? How did you train them? How did you like give them that knowledge transfer? Because are they doing as good of a job of you or better a job or 80% of you? Like, how do you think about it?
Yeah, I'll say I wrestled for a year and a half, 2 years on the fact, like, do I want to become a company that's more than just me? Do I want to I'm okay being, chucking the truck. Like, I want to be good quality chucking the truck, but if like it's just me, I'm okay with that. I can control everything. I have my hands on everything. I don't have to trust anyone except for myself and the customer. And so there's a lot of pros and cons both ways. And I do say to people, like, it is a beautiful journey being an entrepreneur, but it's not for everyone. It really isn't. And there's a beauty in knowing your role and actually settling into that. Sometimes that is taking the leap of faith and starting your own company, but a lot of times that's also realizing, you know what, I'm a darn good technician and I can really excel and elevate the industry in that role. So for me, I went from deciding, okay, that's what I want to do. I do want to start my own company. I think, no, I do for sure. Yes, I think, yes. Okay, I do. I came to that decision, but then how do you actually do that? That's really difficult. And so we spun our wheels. I spun my wheels for quite a while. Okay, I hired this guy, just got him trained in, and then he leaves me overnight,
Wow.
And then hire another guy. Okay, he's not going to work out. Hire another guy. Okay, he's a friend who's giving me a 1-year commitment. Okay, well, that's helpful, but it's not something to build long term around. Another guy who starts and 2 months later, he's like, actually, I think I'm going to go to full-time school, so I need to leave. Talk him into, well, what if you stayed on part-time? And so there was a lot of, I think one of the most difficult things is getting traction. And the biggest thing that I did to get traction, and I've got so many more lessons to learn on, the people business of things. It's so endless to try and learn how to manage and nurture people. But I, this coming Saturday, go on the beach vacation with my wife's family. Okay.
Nice.
Several beach vacations ago, my brother-in-law was there, and I made it my mission to recruit him from a Department of Defense police officer to join my company.
Oh my gosh.
And I knew I would have to offer a bigger compensation package than I felt comfortable with, but I made it work. I made it so that, if we didn't grow at all, it still could work. It just wasn't awesome, but it still could work. But he could be that rock that I could build around, that I didn't know. I didn't have to second guess and be like, is he going to stick around? Is he someone I can trust to build around? He was there, and he was capable and competent, and he was on my side. And so he tells me that he won the battle in negotiations, but I won the war, that I got him over to the driving guys. Now he's like, I would never, I would rather be nowhere else. So I think the biggest thing that I really did that I think it really helped was finding that guy, that person, that gal, whatever, that was like a rock that I knew was like a right-hand man that I could build around and help to build momentum, because it's hard to do that when it's just yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now you kind of feel like you had that partner in the business, and it wasn't just you going at it alone. And now you have someone that you felt like you could invest in without the fear of losing it and starting all over again. And you were kind of mentioning it before, spinning your wheels, you find another one, you find another, you find another one. So then what was the process to go him plus one, him plus two? What did that look like? And how did you do that whole knowledge transfer, and how long did that take you? Yeah.
Knowledge transfer, I think that's one part of it. Another part of it is making good hiring decisions. You always hear the cliche, which is very real and very good, but hire slow, fire fast. It's good. It's good to identify, if that person's not the right fit for your team. Yeah, give a second chance if it's appropriate. But more importantly is, should that person have been able to be on your team to begin with? And so you're not going to always make the perfect hiring decisions, but for us, it's been a journey of hiring well. So we have a process for hiring that most candidates are like, I've never gone through something like that. It's not that robust, but for the home service industry, it kind of is. And for us, we require, your application. Indeed has worked well for us, and require you to put in your application. And then we also require you to complete, there's optional video interview questions on there. And so set up the video interview questions, chat with the people. We've got a process of chats where we'll say, hey, we're so excited to get to know you. And then the next day hey, some people have been having trouble finding the link for the video interview questions. This is a non-negotiable. We need, for us to hire someone, we want them to complete this. And then that way you can vet out so many people by them taking the time to do it or not. And also you're not judging a book by its cover, but they do tell a lot about themselves, whether or not they might be a good fit with your company by how they present themselves and how engaged they are and how well spoken they might be and other non-verbals. So, and also verbals.
Right.
And so, so that weeds out a lot of people and you get right to it. And then we do a phone interview and then we do a background check, motor vehicle record check, because we have a very strict, commercial auto policy with Erie Insurance, and they look back at the last 5 years, not just 2 or 3 years. And so, not everyone gets past that. So, and then we'll do an in-person interview, and then we'll do 3 paid, ride-along days where they can get to see us up front and we get to see them up front. No obligation. If they're not feeling it, totally cool. And if we're not feeling it, totally cool. At that point, then we extend the official offer to become an apprentice.
Yeah.
So that's been huge for us.
I love that process, and I love putting hurdles in the way, because it just, the biggest thing as a business owner is just getting rid of things that just waste time. And if people are just like auto replying, batch sending out resumes, even a second you spend like reading those things isn't worth it. And so right now, like your process of like, we're not even going to consider you unless you do these steps before we even think about getting you on a phone interview. And you still have to pass that. And then what I like that you've added too is just 3 paid ride-along days. You kind of get the sense of the person beyond just the interview. Because I think a lot of people can interview really well. But I also think really good people can maybe not interview the best. But then actually meeting in person, I think sometimes makes you reverse some of those decisions. And, you're not asking them to do it for free. It's paid. They're making money. And, I like the kind of look, if we don't get along, if you don't like us, that's great. If we don't like you, that's great either. I feel like that really sets up at least the culture really well for your business too, to get the type of people that are willing to put in the work to even be considered for the position.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it also has the added benefit of you in the ride-alongs. You're really including your technicians that you know and trust, which are all of them, right? But that are at a point far enough in their technician journey that maybe they're a trainer, or they would have a good gauge on. They're not still learning the job. They can also do the job and be an assessor of the individual. But you pull them into it as well, and ask them, do you think is this a driving guy's kind of person? Do they fit our culture? Can you see them thriving with us? And sometimes it's no, and sometimes it's yes. Usually we have a pretty good track record if we get that far along, it's usually pretty favorable. But also we have the blessing of a lot of ladder work. So you can't be afraid of heights and work with us. You just can't. And some people, like the ladders and the heights, and some people don't. But you need to know that. And so that gives us an opportunity to weed out some of that. If it really is a good fit, you can see our 40-foot ladder up close and personal on your ride-along day. And you might realize it's not the right fit for you, and that's fine. But let's just call a spade at that point.
Yeah, well, you've got really cool culture days. You were telling me where you take your employees in laser tag bowling, but now the whole skydiving thing makes sense, because you're definitely not going to have a fear of heights. You're going to be jumping out of planes.
The guys are lobbying for actual skydiving. We've done indoor skydiving, but
oh my god,
actual skydiving is on the table. We'll see what happens.
Oh, no, I don't know if I can do that. You better have like Keyman insurance and all that kind of stuff lined up.
Right. Everyone clock out.
Yeah, clock out. That's right. You're not on the job. One thing you mentioned too that I like a lot, which is really bringing pride back to doing blue collar work. And I think, especially when you throw stuff up in Indeed, you may be attracting folks that are coming from maybe a white collar job or other types of hospitality style jobs that are considering coming to blue collar. And it's a lot of hard work. It's work where you're standing up, you're physically active all day. But tell me a little bit about, kind of how you bring that sense of pride back. Obviously it's something that you instilled, in your brother-in-law from like the early days, but like, how do you think about that? How's your team think about it? And how do you do more of it?
Yeah. I think there's the craftsmanship aspect, and then there's the feeling good about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of feeling good about what you're doing is a lot of times, like it or not, we communicate with other people, and part of that communication ends up being a sales aspect. It's really communication. And no matter how you do it, you're going to have a sales approach in how you talk to someone, because you're communicating, and you're communicating about something. You have a responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility in a sort of, manipulated sense to communicate to the customer for their safety and well-being. For us, our mission is to make all vents and ducts clean, safe, and efficient. And, the way we train our guys is, a core philosophy, core values is to be as knowledgeable as possible, to be as professional as possible, and just be honest. And so honesty, professionalism, knowledgeability, that is our sales approach. And so it's also our core value and how we feel really good about what we're doing, because we are mitigating fire hazards. We are tangibly making people's lives better. It's very frustrating when you can't dry your clothes. It's one of those little things in life, but when it happens, you're like, oh my gosh. It's very unnerving when a bird is in your vent. If an animal has ever been in your house somewhere, you feel that, oh my gosh, no. This is the time of year where birds get in the vents all the time, and at least in the eastern seaboard here. And so it's something that really needs to be dealt with. But there's a lot of pride in what we do, but also there is pride in how we do it. And so you can feel good about what you do, how you're communicating, getting relationships with the customers, solving their problems, but also how we take that approach. And for us, that approach really hinges around being a subject matter expert in ductwork and dryer venting and bathroom exhaust and kitchen exhaust. Being a professional company that's encompassed with professional processes and equipment and training, and then being an honest and a company with a real moral compass and integrity. And so that's how we do it, and we train accordingly. So that's been working well for us, and I think the guys really can feel good about what they do when they put their head on their pillow at night. Their billables might be high because they solved a lot of problems, but nothing was snake oil. And they can feel real pride in actually everything we offer is providing a solution. It's nothing is meritless, and it feels really good. And I feel like that's something that often gets overlooked in the blue collar industry. And if you could make it a welcoming environment, there's a lot of people who are interested in this field.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it's a true safety concern. I don't think enough people really know about what happens if, it builds up in dryer vents and what can happen, especially if animals are getting in there. But more than that, it's just, you are providing a really, like you said, a very tangible benefit that you don't know what it's like to not have it until you don't. And then all of a sudden it's like an eye opener, mind blown kind of experience. And I can totally see how that kind of comes together really well. As you're kind of reflecting back on your earlier self, your earlier business, what is a big moment or an unlock that you had that you can help someone else that maybe is a little earlier on kind of in their journey, where maybe you struggled a little bit and you're like, oh, that's it. I wish I could have just told myself that and saved me some of the trouble.
Yeah. Get an accountant. Get an accountant, full stop. No, but seriously, surround yourself with the right people. When you're small, I mean, there's more limited things you have to accomplish administratively, and little more limited kind of role responsibilities you just have because there's less plate spinning. But you always have a need for an accountant, and I will say, get that accountant as integrated as possible, and I will die on this mountain saying utilize this QuickBooks Online integration with Housecall Pro, because I was entering all the invoices and receiving payments and deposits and everything in QuickBooks Online to reflect the actual, happenings that happen. And now Housecall Pro does that for us with much better record keeping, much better accuracy, much better customer experience, much better everything. But it's all synced to QuickBooks Online. We now have a fractional CFO and an accountant, and both of them, they can take it from there. But I will say, we're at a different place than we were. But when I was by myself, I still could have, you really utilize that integration with QuickBooks Online, making sure the books are clean and good. Don't pocket cash. Be honest. You know what I mean? Like put the money where it's supposed to go, and have that lean on that accountant. It's really important. I think that's something that is applicable for basically everyone.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. I think it's easy to get in the business and, get cash on the side and do all these kinds of things. But then in your head, how do you even know how your business is doing? It's very hard to even get a grasp of what's going on if you don't have the full picture, or if you've got a couple set of books and it's it's a different business, but it's not. And, it's very difficult. And I feel like, where your passion lies in helping people and solving some of these problems, working on dryer vents versus having to do manual data entry, like you mentioned. That's a lot of work that, eats into family time that you have to do after your normal working hours, which just feels brain dead. And anytime I think, that's a great golden nugget. If you feel like you're doing something manually and you're just inputting data, there's got to be a way to integrate it or make it happen faster.
Oh, man. Yeah.
There has to be, right? Because that's the stuff that is perfect for computers to do.
Yeah, 100%. I would also say getting a scheduler on your team part-time. There's plenty of people. If you don't need a full-time scheduler, there are plenty of people who a part-time gig is great for them. You pay them per call or try to track their hours best they can, and they've got the phone, and if 5 calls a day come through, they'll handle them. They might be in the supermarket and be like, I'll call them in the car once I get out of the store. That's better than you're doing. You know what I mean? You probably missed that call. And so, there are good solutions out there with call centers and all that stuff. But I think it's always going to be better to have someone on your team. It's always going to have a more personal connect, and you're going to be more successful with that. And you don't need to feel like you need this full-time person necessarily. There's a lot of people who they would be more than happy to have that as a part-time gig, and then they maybe can grow into the role, or maybe they were just the right person for that chapter in time.
I like how you put that, the right role, the right person for that chapter in time. Because I think, as business evolve, business needs change. There might be people that kind of come in and come out, but don't be afraid to pull that trigger because it's something you need right now. And I feel like a lot of small businesses, if you don't answer that call, the homeowner is going to call the next person, and then they're going to pick up the phone, and that's it. You don't get a second chance. And I feel like, if you're working really hard for those leads or those referrals or whatever you're doing to get that phone to ring, each opportunity just can't be missed. So make sure you've got someone answering your phones for sure, and get that scheduler on your payroll somehow, even if it's part-time.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I like that. That's good.
I like it. So we're talking a little bit about the QuickBooks Online integration, but one of the things at Housecall Pro we recently released, which is mobile check capture, so you can actually deposit them. Walk me through how that went for your team and why that was a big
amazing. Why it was amazing. Yeah. I'm still losing my mind over how helpful that is. So we had a couple things going, against us, maybe a little bit unique. Our bank didn't have all the transparency that, some banks do, which made it a little more difficult for us to keep track of the checks. Also, one of the benefits we promote with our technicians is once they, graduate through the apprenticeship tiers to become a tier 1 technician, we do these things called becoming bonuses. And so we celebrate their progression. And so, but we say, hey, your becoming bonus as a tier 1 tech is actually getting issued a van, which is not a monetary amount. The next becoming bonus is like $1,500 added to that week's check. When they become a tier 2 tech, it's not a chunk of cash, but oh my gosh, it is life changing to be able to pull out of your own driveway or your own apartment complex and not have to meet up with, drive your own personal vehicle to meet up with the tech and whatever. It's awesome. A disadvantage of that is, well, one of the disadvantages of that is it's harder to, collect all the checks at the end of the day or end of the week and all that stuff. Some of those administrative logistics issues arise from that benefit to the techs of them being able to keep their vans at home.
You were saying you don't even see them for weeks sometimes. They're just like out and about, and then it's going to be a while before you even get them in the office.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, our guys are amazing. I just had one of our newer technicians. I have to tell you this. One of our newer technicians, he just became tier 2. But he just, last Friday, I think he got a review that called he and his helper, the A team.
Nice.
First time with the driving guys, and I lucked out with what was certainly their A team. And then today we got another one of reviews for them, the same team, saying they were world-class professionals. So it's like those guys are on the less experienced side of our overall technicians. And so our guys are bomber. They are really awesome, and they're very capable. And so, yes, there's a job that we might need to go assist them with. Mm-hmm. They're not independent contractors. They're the driver event guys' employees, but they don't need to come back to the shop every day. And so my general manager, he's with them more often. He sees them and talks to them every day. He talks to them every day, but, sees them every week or two. I don't see them every week or two. So when I hear one of them's at the shop to restock, or I hear one of them on the phone, on speakerphone with my GM, I'll barge in and start chatting with them, and they probably wish I wouldn't, but because they got to move on with their day. But I'm happy to talk to them. Because I haven't seen you in a little bit. What's going on? How is whatever? So
yeah. That's neat. But I mean, I think that solves a problem, because I think there's quite a few different industries as well where the technicians get to take their work trucks home, and because they don't have a lot of like physical inventory that needs to get replenished all the time, they can keep those trucks at home and for the most part operate almost autonomously. The like you said, the cons is because you don't see them that often. If they're out there collecting checks, giving them the ability to remote deposit those checks solves a pretty big like logistical.
It's huge. We had customers who were so thrilled with our service, and then how terrible is it that then they get a negative taste in their mouth from us because their check doesn't clear for 6 weeks?
Oh, they forget about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. But so because it's like, oh, I didn't see that check for 4 weeks. I meant to see them, but it didn't work out, and life happens, and work things happen, and all that stuff. And then I get their check, their pile of checks. And then I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to go to the bank today because I also am trying to get so-and-so technician's checks later this week. So I'll get his, and then I'll go together. But then it just kind of all bleeds longer and longer and longer. And then you've got a pile of 50 checks, and some of them 6 weeks old or whatever, or 4 weeks, or, and it's just not good business. So that was a struggle we had, a little bit unique with kind of our structure, but huge fans of the check deposit and how that's allowed us to. We were early adopters of it and testing out the program, so we've been doing it for about a year, and it's just revolutionary for our flow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know these days you're not as active in the CRM yourself because you're overseeing so much more and growing the business and thinking about other opportunities. You are pretty active in our community online. You're a Housecall Pro, Superpro. Why are you so active there? Like, what's it to you? How do you feel about it?
Chris, I'm a fan of Chris. Chris Nordson. No, he's awesome. I love when he got brought in. It was very good. But I think it's really helpful anytime you're in a specific kind of category of something, it's helpful to interface with other people in that same category. Mm-hmm. So active on the couple dryer vent specific forums out there on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And that's helpful because there's not a lot of us, and it's helpful to learn and glean and share and whatnot. Well, it's also helpful to learn and glean and share the Superpro group. I will say it has its advantages as well, because when with any technology thing, there's inevitably an issue that arises, and you've got the listening ear of some people that are a little higher up that you can take advantage of with that. So and on top of that too, you can share in that community, and you've got other guys, other gals who are well experienced in the community, in the program, and they might have just the tip that you were looking for of what you needed to help solve the problem, or, maybe they're just a listening ear. So it's good.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's definitely one of the benefits of both being a super pro, but just being in the community in general, is that, you get a direct line of access to folks that can really help you. So if you ever feel stuck, or you're talking through support, you need maybe a little of extra support, or maybe just like, we're in the software all day, but we're not using it for our business all day. So finding someone else in the industry that's also using Housecall Pro, getting some tips from them and how they did it. And then likewise, people just reaching out to you and looking for tips from you, because look how far you've come so far since you started back in 2013, and that's super cool.
Yeah, it's you're surprised that it was 2019 when we started in Housecall Pro, and that coincided with when I decided, like, hey, we're going to try and scale this thing. I'm going to try to grow, and we spun our wheels for a couple of years, and like you blink, it's been 3, 4, maybe 5 years, but now we're at 20 employees. It's pretty wild.
That goes quick. Well, it's been awesome talking to you, Kyle. Do you have any last minute, either a quote, parting words of wisdom, something you want to get out there for anyone that happens to be listening and tuned into this interview?
Yeah. So a friend of my wife's, she started a consulting company, and she consults with business leaders and stuff. And she was looking to get more, data sample points for a new thing she was working on. And so we talked last week, and she was asking me about, how I manage people, and it was really business owners and how they manage people and whatnot, and asking questions about that. And I was like, you know what? I'm not great at it, but I realize that I'm not great at it. And so I'm not pompous, acting like I am just put on the boss shirt and hear me roar, the reality is that we're all trying to figure it out, and people really value relationship and communication. And just had a conversation with one of our lead techs today, and something came off a little wrong with how I communicated something on last Friday. And he dwelled on it respectfully over the weekend and everything. And he brought it up to me today and said, hey, I understand what you were doing, why you said that, but I just want to let you know that although I totally get it, I have been struggling with it a little bit, and I just wish I would have known sooner so we could talk about that sooner. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm like, thank you so much. You are awesome. The way that you're carrying yourself, I am so proud that you're part of the team, and I'm sorry that I didn't think that through. I totally want to include you. I just was trying to figure it out, and I didn't think it just kind of happened, and he got it. When we had that touch point, he got it. And I think, yes, there are things where you need to put your brave face on, and you need to take it till you make it, leadership sometimes. But I think a lot of times, just have a good relationship with people. Yeah, have your professional boundaries as appropriate and whatnot. But I think it really goes a long way, so long as you avoid the pitfalls of what make, there's some articles on why a business culture that's like family is a red flag or negative. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, those aspects that make business culture that's like family. Negative are things that are just negative themselves. And you want to just eliminate those things, but like having that kind of care and nurture for each other, I think it really goes a long way, and people feel people feel included, and they feel bought in, and they don't feel like you have this air of pretense about you, And so I think, I always think like it's amazing. We've got 20 employees right now. I could blink and we could have 2. Like you don't know what tomorrow brings, and so you try to stay even keeled. It's so hard to stay even keeled. Sometimes you want to get too high with the high, too lows with the lows. You just cannot. You cannot let yourself get too high with the highs, too low with the lows. Okay, I've got some more attention to the company now that I'm 20 employees, and we've got more vans. More people are noticing us. I'm grateful to be on this podcast. I'm grateful to some of the other opportunities. That doesn't change who I am. We're not fundamentally different. There's just a few more opportunities. And so, but I think you can just get caught up with things, and it's just good to stay grounded, not too high, not too low. You know what I mean? When you're feeling like, oh man, I'm just a chuck in a truck. If that's what you want to be, that's glorious. If it's not what you want to be, you can get there. You really can. And just have the belief. When my guy who left after a year, he said, I was trying to get him to stay on after the year. He decided not to. And it just felt like 2 steps back. Like I knew I was only getting him for a year, but he might stay longer. It was tough. It was a really struggle point. And I said, okay, I'm going to commit to Trainual, learning management software, whatever you want to do. I'm going to double down on my process because it's back to me and a part-time guy. And so I'm like, I'm going to double down on where I want to be, and I'm going to act like that's where I am because that's where I want to go. And so I'm going to start working out processes in Trainual when it's me and one part-time guy. And yes, it was 3 years of a lot of late nights where I'm staying up till 10, 11, 12, 1 at night after putting the kids down. And I'm working on typing stuff up in Housecall Pro, making the price book, making this, making that, doing this in Trainual. But you're investing in where you want to go, and you can change that. Just a little bit all over the place, but I will say, I just think people appreciate when you're just normal. You know what I mean? And by all means, I'm not like Bill Roland over here, who's a high hitter with this awesome service as a software as a service company. And, no, all credit to you. You've done incredible with that. But I know you also in reality, I think one thing that has been really good for Housecall Pro, and one really good thing for you as well, is how you've actually embodied that. You've been like, yes, I founded this, but I'm staying connected and rooted to the community. Mm-hmm. And you see the strength out of that. And I think it doesn't matter how big you are. I'm a big dryer vent company in the space, but I'm a little company. We're a little tiny company. But I'm proud of where we've gone. And you just stay humble, and you try to treat people right, and you have the normal conversations. And even if it's a people business and all that stuff, bottom line, you just try to keep a good head on your shoulder and treat people right. I feel like that goes a long ways, and it covers for a lot of blunders that I was foot and mouth syndrome just now, and I didn't realize it. But They have grace for you because they can talk to you.
It's going to happen. Yeah, I think humility is key, and just like radical candor is key, and just truly caring for people so they can receive your feedback, and then vice versa. And I think if you're able to show that you make mistakes, others will be vulnerable when they make mistakes and they come to you for help. And so I think those things kind of all combine together. Just make a strong leader, even if you're not a natural leader, because I think over time that's something, people say, oh, you have to be born a leader in this. I don't know if I really believe that. I think over time, anybody can learn, and anyone can learn to lead, and just lead by example. And I think that's the best way. You've definitely embodied that. you've taken this thing so far already in such a small amount of time. So it's been a pleasure interviewing you and talking to you.
Go on, bro. Yeah,
So many good golden nuggets in this whole thing. And I hope we can get a lot of people listening to this one. But I appreciate you coming on and wish you the best of luck, Kyle. Thanks,
Roland. Appreciate it. Thanks.
The Superpro podcast is brought to you by Housecall Pro, the leading platform for the home service industry. Housecall Pro streamlines your workflows and simplifies everything from scheduling and dispatching to communication and billing. Unlock the full potential of your home service business with Housecall Pro. Work smarter and more efficiently with streamlined workflows and detailed analytics. Win more business and serve your customers well, every single time. Join more than 40,000 home service pros who have already revolutionized their businesses. Work smarter with streamlined workflows, get organized with centralized information, and scale your business your way. Learn more at housecallpro.com.